It's now my pleasure to introduce our presenter, Ann Loper. Ann Loper is a Master Gardener and a member of the Southeast Wisconsin Master Gardener Association and the committee called Lifelong Gardening. And her presentation today is Adaptive Gardening Tools, What to Think About Success for Next Season. So take it away, Ann.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm going to give you some ideas on adaptive tools for next season, and they'll hopefully will help you succeed in your garden with less pain. First of all, I just would like to go over our mission statement. So whenever we do a presentation, our purpose is to educate the public on principles and methods that enable gardeners to enjoy gardening throughout their lifetime. And two ways to do that is how to modify the garden through accessibility and plant selection. And also the other way is how to modify the gardener. And you can do that through techniques and tools. So this is one of our brochures that we hand out at our presentations, and you'll see it shows exercises and body mechanics. And our main goal in regards to the body mechanics is to keep your back straight, bend your knees, and keep your wrists straight so you aren't stressing any of your muscles. If you're in Wisconsin, you know it's important to exercise or kind of stretch out before you go in the garden early spring and late fall, because it can get a bit chilly here when you want to garden. And if the weather's nice, you still want to get out there. So you can, there's some neck exercises or your arms and your legs. The pictures are pretty self-explanatory. So let's start with some tools. One of them is a radius tool, and you can find this through Amazon or any garden centers. And you'll notice the curved handle, and there's a little ledge at the end of the tool. If you bring your finger all the way to that ledge, that allows you to keep your wrist straight when you're digging into the soil. We've tried, if you put your hand closer to the tool itself, as soon as you go into the soil, you'll notice your wrist bends, and that'll put stress on it. The PETA Easy Grip hand tools. Now, this is a company from the UK, but they have an American website. And again, the tools force you to keep your wrist straight, and then you can add this little cuff down at the bottom to any of the tools. There's also long reach tools, say for an elevated garden that you might have, or raised bed, and it puts the muscles on the larger, puts the stress on the larger muscles. I call these the packer tools. Next, if you look at bypass pruners. The pruners you really need to make sure they fit your hand. And to do that, when you have the pruner open and in your palm of your hand comfortably, the top portion of your knuckles should be showing. Otherwise, you'll have to stretch your fingers, stressing the muscles, or you have to use your other hand to help close it, which isn't very good. It takes away the purpose of it. We always stress, try to open the package. When you're at the store, just tell them Ann said you could try open the package and try it. So there's many kinds. There's the Fiskar, the Corona, there's ours left hand pruner and the small hand. You really need to try them. So this is a cut and hold. This particular item is really nice. Say you have some diseased, say zinnias, and some are getting diseased and moldy. You want to cut them, but you don't want them falling in the batch of the good zinnias. So it'll cut it, and you can just hold it up, upside down, and it'll hold it. And then you can put it in a bucket or a garbage bag to throw out. There are some long reach cut and holds. Say you're working with raspberries or rose bushes. Again, so you don't have to go putting your hand way down into those thorny plants. The garden knife. There's two different, there's many kinds actually, but the one on the right-hand side, you'll notice how sharp the tip is. And on one side is serrated. The other side is sharp and smooth. You probably could sharpen them after the winter. You can get these from Fiskars, A.M. Leonard, or Amazon. The one on the left is from A.M. Leonard. And I don't know if you'll notice the little notch that's right below the handle. Say you're working with some twine as you're cutting your plants or tying up your plants, you can use that to cut the twine. Remember several years back when we're at the state fair, and there was always the tool that everybody was carrying around. Well, many years ago, the expandable rake was one of the items that the state fair had. I believe that's where I got mine. So you can expand it so that the prongs are wide open. Say you want to get under rose bushes, or you just to rake regular leaves, or you can close it up to maybe spread the mulch a little better around your garden. And then you can close up the expandable handle and hang it up in your garage. Whoops. There we go. Okay. When it comes to watering, there is several kinds of watering wands. On the right, the watering wand is good for hanging baskets. Or if you have an even longer wand, you can use that to water your raspberries or rose bushes, so you get down below instead of watering from on top. Now, the newer kinds seem to have these little knobs that you turn to open or close the water spray. The older ones, you'll remember they have little hooks on them. Make sure that little hook clasps onto the handle so you're not holding it and stressing your muscles in your fingers. The one on the left, the Water Cannon Orbit Pro, we call it the firefighter's watering hose. That will force you to keep it centered to your body, and the handle you push forward or towards your body to turn the water on or off, and how forceful it comes out. And you'll notice all those little 7 little holes. It's all different sprays that can come out, and the red turns the nozzle, and it is super, super easy to turn. All right, in regards to shovels, again, many kinds of shovels. You can go to Amazon, anywhere online, and you could just put in Spearhead Spade or Radius Garden Root Slayer, and they'll give you all different kinds of shovels. The Spearhead Spade comes in 3 sizes, 30-inch, 41-inch, or 58-inch. And the 30-inch, probably something you would use in an elevated garden, or if you're like me and a shorter person. The 41-inch is a little taller. And then the 51-inch does not have that like D handle. It's just a straight stem. A lot of the master gardeners have this particular one, and you can sharpen them at the end of the season. They have a little ledge for you to step on when digging into roots and hostas. The radius garden root slayer, you'll notice it's serrated on the sides, and it has some two pointed ends to get into those roots. This circular handle forces you to keep it centered to your body so it doesn't put stress on either side of your back. And then again, we're always stressing, stressing not to put so much exercise or stress on parts of your muscles. Okay, the bionic glove. This is really nice in springtime. It'll keep your hands warm. You can get them from Amazon. They originally started as a golf glove. And then they, you'll notice on the palm of the hand, there is padding on the palm and by the knuckles, and that helps prevent blisters. And then on the top of the glove, by the knuckles, there's elastic, so it'll stretch as you're bending your fingers and prevent blisters. You can, they're leather, you can wash them. Some people, you can have them up to 3 or 4 years. The one on the right is good for working in the raspberry or rose bushes. I have both pair, and it's really nice when I'm working with the roses. Weeding. If you don't like weeding, which some do and some don't, but this Fiskar uproot weeder prevents you from having to bend down to weed. So you can get this through Amazon or right from Fiskar. You can just Google it, uproot weeder. This particular one has the 3 prongs at the bottom. So you position that over the weed. You kind of push it down a little, step on the lever that's sticking out. It's, parallel to the ground. You pull the weeder towards your body, and it'll just, the prongs will grab the weed and pull it out. And then there's an orange handle that you push away from you, and it ejects the weed, and you can put it right into a garbage bag or a basket. No bending for weeding. So as you're gardening and you're weeding and pruning, you really should take a break, like every 15 minutes. Make sure you stay hydrated, because once you are thirsty, it's too late, you're already dehydrated. So with that in mind, there's a couple of different garden kneeler seats. The one on the left is about 16 inches high. It does not fold up at all, but you can put, has a little compartment where you can put your gloves, your favorite pruner inside the seat, and then sit down and have a little break, have a drink of water. On the right-hand side, this one folds up. It's metal, and it's 17¼ inches high. This one you can use to sit on for a break, or you can flip it over and kneel on it to weed. The only thing is this one, if you're kneeling on it, keep in mind you'll be raised about 3 inches off the ground. So that means you will be bending a little more forward than if you were just on the ground. Depending on how your back is, would that be good for you? Also, people have had it the way it is in showing in the picture and just lean over the seat to do weeding. Now, do you have decent knees that you can do that? That'd be great. Okay, this tub trug bucket. It's something you could get from Gardener Supply or Amazon. With this, it's not super big, so that if you're weeding, and once the basket is full, then you know it's time to change your body mechanics, get up and empty the basket, and then you can go back to what you were doing. Because you don't want to get tired and stressed doing the same activity for hours and hours. As I stated before, you probably should take a break and change your positions every 15 minutes or maybe half hour. The pot caddy. This item helps you move pots around, say, your patio. If you have to kind of follow the sun on your patio, there is like an 8-inch foot at the bottom. You can slide it under the pot. And then there's that little handle that slides up and down, so you can clamp it inside the pot so it holds it so it doesn't fall off, and then just move it around. Or you can use it at the end of the season when you need to move your pots inside maybe a garage, or it has to go down into the basement. All right, so easy care plant selection. Try to match plant needs to the area where they are being planted. You have to check, is it dry or wet, sun, partial sun, shade. Choose plants that grow naturally in your area. Shrubs require less maintenance than perennials. Perennials, less care than annuals. Try to avoid invasive shrubs and plants. So my story with this is we have a cottage up on up north on a river, and it's a bank that goes down to the river. And I got tired of having to mow it. And along the roadside, I saw a plant. And I thought, oh, it has little white flowers. Looks kind of pretty. I'll put it on the bank. Well, several years later, I took the Master Gardener class and discovered I planted Japanese knotweed. So make sure you research whatever you want to plant, especially if it's being taken from the roadside or from a field. I'm still trying to get rid of the Japanese knotweed. Choose plants that have a long bloom time. To use, either you put it in a vase, or it's just gonna look nice out in your yard. Something that does not need dividing every few years. Try not to plant something that requires a lot of deadheading to keep blooming, unless it's 1 or 2 plants and you just like to be out there in the garden to do some deadheading. Try not to find something that spreads too rapidly. So these are pictures of my garden. The 2 on the right are up at the cottage. And I have planted some larger greenery because it's an area I want to fill in so I don't have to weed quite so much. So the lupine is spreading nicely, and then the hollyhocks have a tendency to self-seed, and I'm okay with that. because it's a bigger area. And the one on the far left is at home in the city, and that's in a shaded area. And it's, they're more clumped plants, hostas, hellebores, things like that. So to give you an example of elevated gardens, these are my this is my garden in spring and fall. So we started with the 2 wooden elevated gardens way in the back. Then I added one, I got it from a friend. And then I added another one, another wooden one. And I kept going. So I thought, why am I kneeling on the ground to harvest my plants? So the last 2 we put in are the water troughs. So I drilled holes at the bottom, filled them about halfway with covered milk jugs, juice jugs, the bigger containers. And then I covered it with landscape fabric so that the soil didn't pour right through it. And then I put my soil in, and I used potting soil and some of my compost. So as you see, the spring and fall. The one in the fall, that's sorrel, and that just keeps coming back for me. Okay, for me, two very important tools are paper and pencil. So if you're like me, I can't remember what I planted the year before. So I grafted my elevated gardens, and I made a couple copies. And then every year I put the year up at the top, and then I put in what I want, how I want to switch things around. So you'll see the sorrel I'm going to cut in half, and there's the dill. That's kind of my and number 6 is my perennial herbs. And you really should rotate your plants or your herbs. You can put in flowers too, but I like the herbs in these particular gardens. So I do have a lot of flowers around my garden too. So just try to remember to use proper, comfortable tools. This will allow you to enjoy gardening through life. So if you're interested in seeing little more about lifelong gardening, go to SEWMG.org, then click on activities, then click on lifelong gardening, and then go down to LLG Toolbook. There we have our entire inventory of all the tools, adaptive tools that we have. And because I obviously didn't show everything that we have. So thank you for attending. And are there any questions?
Well, thank you, Anne. That was wonderful. So we do have a couple questions in the chat box. The first one, someone had noticed the PETA. They said the PETA tools look a little flimsy, and she wondered if you have any trouble with them.
Oh, they're not flimsy at all. They're solid. And that cuff it's solid.
Okay.
Oh,
So
yeah.
make a mind just by the way the presenter, the way it looked.
It's a hard plastic. Oh, yeah.
Okay. The next question is do you empty your water trough every year and replace the new soil in the tubs, or do you change up half the soil, or how do you handle the soil in the tubs? I add and I kind of blend it in. I add new soil each year because it does kind of settle a bit. Yeah. Okay. Do you use coaches for your herbs and which ones overwinter for you? Do you use any type of tools to prolong the season?
What was that first? Do I have any?
The coaching, I'm just struggling with the definition. You know, the protective devices for things when it gets cold, the coach. Yeah.
No, I just, well, like I still have carrots in there. I cover them with the leaves or straw.
Okay.
And then I can pull them like in December still.
And then which ones overwinter? Do any of them overwinter in the raised beds?
The sorrel does real nice, the dill, and that's really about it. Yeah.
Do you have any recommendations for back support or braces, or do not touch that?
No, I think that's something you should go to the doctor for. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any recommendations for footwear, especially those who garden several hours a day? Is there any recommendations out there that people give for footwear?
We haven't really gotten into that, but I know I use my boots, just for support so I don't trip and sprain an ankle versus like slip-ons. I just use a solid shoe with ties.
Sure. And then do you have a minute to just talk briefly about any wheelbarrows or garden carts that you recommend, or is that also mentioned in some of your handouts?
Well, we have a two-wheel cart that's in our inventory box that allows you more support and less stress on your shoulders and your back using a two-wheel cart, definitely, versus a regular wheelbarrow.
A question someone asked about doing in-person presentations at a health center. If they're interested in reaching out for you for in-person presentations, do they go to that website also?
Yes, and it'll have my contact information there. Yep.
Okay, great. And then another question she asked about, how deep was the bed when you talked about growing potatoes? The person didn't realize she could do potatoes in a raised bed. You just want to mention a little bit how you handle it in a raised bed situation?
Actually, I've done it in the one that comes to a V, and that might be in the middle, maybe 18 inches deep. I love growing potatoes in it. It works wonderful. Yeah. The only thing with the elevated gardens in the spring, I do cover them with a wire and a netting because we have a lot of squirrels until things start coming up, and then I pull that off, and then everything's good.
So when you refer to the item that's shaped as a V, is that one of the raised bed styles that's listed in your toolbox?
An L garden, L garden, yeah.
The L garden, okay, great. Do you have any suggestions for gel pads for knees at all? Anything like that?
There is, yes, there's an example we have in our toolbox on the gel knees. Kneelers, yeah.
Okay. I think that we have answered. People have been thanking you for your presentation. They've been saying it's very informative. I think that's it for the questions. So thank you everybody for participating. As you know, this was recorded. You can, if you want to rewatch the recording will be posted on our horticulture website in a few days. I want to thank Anne for giving the great presentation. Thanks for taking the time to do this. We're glad you're here today, and you really shared some great information. So thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks everybody for attending.
Bye.
Goodbye.